Hi, everyone. Welcome to Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to a Better Life discussion. I'm here with Jussara Korngold today, and we are going to end a discussion that, unfortunately, Jussara, touches sooner or later, but it's usually we don't expect it, which is that confrontation of our own health and our own body and their fragility. So, Jusada, how are you doing?
Hello, Marcia. Hi, everyone. It's I've been doing okay, and I'm really happy to be here today to continue our podcast. And like you said, it's a very serious, very difficult topic, but at the same time, so important for us all. So let's see if we manage to give some comfort, to give some, to shed some light to people in
Yes,
relation to this, phase of life.
absolutely. Thank you. So, before I, ask you to talk more about it, Jusada, just wanted to say what came to my mind as I am prepared to come to this conversation. And the notion is each each episode on grief and loss, we get a little bit more, a little bit further in this understanding. And that understanding is that grief isn't about losing a loved one or even losing a role, right? But it is about also this vessel that carries our consciousness, our body. So, how do they come? How do we experience grief of our own self while we're not quite dead yet, right? So, illness, cognitive decline, oh, something that impairs you or disables you from doing things that we used to do so easily. All of those make us confront number one, loss of control, but also dependence. Um, it's just the sense that pushes us perhaps to move toward our own self instead of being more outward bent. So uh, it feels that when we talk about our body, it's almost like understanding how sacred is each breath that we take, right? So let's talk about the lessons that we may learn from those who are going through this, but also those caregivers and even the community a lot alike. And I would love to also hear from you, Jusada, a little bit of a spiritist perspective about how is it that we go through as we navigate our own health challenges or doing this for a loved one. How about that? Can we just start by
Yeah.
talking about what is this grief in relation to oneself?
Yes. First of all, I would like for everyone that perhaps is just tuning into this particular podcast. I mean, not necessarily having gone through the whole series, but the prism, like we were using in terms of different colors, is
Yeah.
just for us to have a symbol, really, and how really some colors represent the reaction, like this one that we are going to be talking today, the green, that is related to the heart. We may think red, but no, it's like, it's the sap of life, is the center of life. And when, the energy, the sap perhaps begins to deteriorate. But another thing that is very important in the series of podcasts that we are doing about grief and loss is for us to think that uh, to expand our minds in terms of our emotions. Because not only for ourselves, but others may say, okay, you are entitled to grief
Mhm.
because of the loss of loved ones. But very rarely we will find someone that will say, we will understand perhaps the grief, the loss of going through the different stages of life, different situations that we are going to be living. And so our aim is, for people that are connecting with us, that are, listening to the podcast, reading the book, whatever, that they can understand that it is okay, and it is part of that, and that we as a society should accept that, understand that in the behaviors and the emotions of our fellow beings. So having said that, when we think about, the laws of health, which is a natural stage of getting older, but also from the perspective that when we are talking about laws of health and seeing at our faltering vehicle, that is the body, it is not necessarily just connected to how old you are, because we can find that since you're born, you can have some impairments, and that is they are going to reflect on your physical body, your way of communicating with people. So it is a strange loss, because if you're born with that, maybe people will say, how can you know for sure that this is a loss? You never had that. But yes, it is a loss. We know, we understand about others, or it can be a little later in life, but in your teenager years. But for certain, it is going to reach us when you reach a certain age, middle age up. It's almost inevitable, because it's part of our body structure, to have this natural decay of the physical body. But it's not because it is natural, because it happens to everyone. And we hope it happens to everyone, because it means you are living, you are experiencing, you are marking your place in the world, because of the long years that you have been living on this earth. But it's nonetheless, it's very, very hard for us to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I just wanted to perhaps dive into a term that is quite interesting, the concept of biological invincibility, right? Where that narcissistic injury, or the shock of realizing that uh, we all fall through those laws, as you mentioned, right? But all of a sudden, it shifts. The paradigm is shifted from helping us to being the instrument of what we want to do, to, hey, I need help, be it back pain, or in my case, I had knee surgery, Jussara, several years ago, and I can see this is Marcia up to that year of the surgery, and Marcia afterwards. Very different people, and it's something that I have to take care, to pay attention for the rest of my life. So can you talk a little bit about this? Oh, I'm no longer invincible. I'm not Superman.
Because at the same time that we say, okay, it's a natural thing of life, I don't have to be talking about this. Actually, we try to avoid as much as we can to talk about, getting older, illnesses, death. And but the thing is, we behave very much like adolescents, because
Yes.
like
Yeah.
you said, I'm invincible, my body is what I am, and I'm capable of doing everything. And even when they say, take care of, watch more, your back, your knees, of how you are doing things, because you can overexert yourself, something like this, we say, nah, it's never going to happen to me. And all of a sudden, it happens, and it
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
sometimes, sooner than you would
Yeah.
anticipate. And of course, there is this inner emotion that it feels so hurt, and this idea, like the narcissistic idea, that I'm like a superhero. I always was capable of doing that, and all of a sudden, like you say, depending on the situation that you're going through, and it doesn't need you don't need to be that old to go through these things, like you said, knee problems, or even back problems, or
Mhm.
a broken arm or something like that may not give you back the abilities that you had before. And so that is this thing, oh my God, not even my shoes I can tie anymore. So
Yeah,
my pride is hurt. You have to depend
yeah,
on others. You have to change your lifestyle. I mean, different kind of shoes,
yeah,
or it's we have this illusion that we are in control. That now it's not going to happen to me, and I mean, I'm in control. I'm a healthy person. I go to gym, or this. It has nothing to do with that,
yeah,
right? It's the physical decay is part of that. I mean, the insides, I mean, of course we play a huge part on our health in terms of our intakes and drinking water, etc. But there are
mhm,
some things that just you cannot stop time.
yeah,
And so it is very hard. It's like, and this is when it comes the part where we start mourning,
yeah,
and people will not allow you to mourn because they may think it's not enough reason. Like, they will say, but it happens to everyone. Okay, that happens to everyone as well.
yeah,
But now, me being, like you said, not a
yeah,
different person, of course, because you, but at the same time, you cannot do things the way you used to do, or do them anymore. And so sometimes we put so much value on what we can do versus what we are. And
yeah,
I,
absolutely. Yeah. Before we go there, because I think such a good point that you're saying, right? We as a society, we fall prey to, you know, being a society of production. Therefore, I must be producing something instead of being. But before we get there, I just wanted to perhaps share with you, or listen to you, Jussara, on the right, the layers, if you will, of injury from the physical impact, and how does it really hurt us more profoundly, which is really the hurting our egoic construct, right? So, for example, you mentioned tying my shoe. I cannot tie my shoe, and or I cannot drive a car for my eyesight or whatever, right? But it is really about autonomy, right? I
Mhm.
no longer um, have control, and the sense of hurt, because our independence and our pride is all consuming. It's being attacked, but also the questions of image, or even predictability of the future, right? I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, and that's a very hard part because,
Mhm.
like you said, we are living in a society. I mean, it's been like that for some decades, but each time
Yeah,
more, where we want to be as much as independent as we can. And even if you have a good rapport with your family, with your friends, I mean,
yeah,
you wanted to go and fend for yourself. You don't want
yeah,
to be others be doing things for you. But it comes a point, whether because of, something, any kind of injury that you may have, that sometimes you're playing sports, and then you fall, you're having a good time skiing, and you break your
mhm,
knees, and then it's going to impair you in some sort of way. So again, it's not just related to age, although, like we said, age is a huge factor
yeah,
this chapter, and this conversation we are having here. So it is not only you have to deal with the fact that now, I'm imperfect, I'm a defective uh,
mhm,
vehicle,
Yeah.
Then you still have to deal with your emotions, how much you're allowed to feel this way, how much others are going to understand that,
Mm.
and how much you will have to open up yourselves and allow others to help you.
Yeah.
Because we are in a society that is very much like a win-win situation, right?
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
something for you, do something back, and I do something and you do something back.
Yeah.
So when you come into a point that you say, I don't have anything to trade for
Yeah.
this kind of, attention, right? Or and it's hard for you to feel good. Like,
Yeah.
people used to depend on me. I used to be the one doing the things, and now
Yes.
all of a sudden the the role is reversed, and we do not allow ourselves even to contemplate this situation and the benefits we can reap from
Yeah. And I keep thinking, of course, there is a almost taboo response to aging, no longer able to produce, as you mentioned, and no longer reliable, no longer is someone that will be the protector, but will be protected. And I'm thinking, just as a personal example, it just as we're talking, that example came quite strong in my mind. My mother, and she's no longer with us. She she was completely deaf in one ear and almost completely deaf with another. She was legally blind, right? So you have two disabilities
Mhm,
plus other issues. And it was very interesting because her whole life, and I only, of course, saw her as an adult woman,
mhm,
she was very clear on there is a disability. I lived my whole life, and I will contract or outsource or have a cadre of people to do things because I'm a neighbor. She was very okay with that. What was so interesting is that for some of the family members who loved her to death, like a cousin or a niece or whatever, they would be infuriated because this woman, whatever she asked somebody else to do, she would not trade, as you mentioned, but she would pay for it. It was very clear. I need you to do this, and here's how much money I'm going to pay for it.
mhm,
And so the conversation about I'm doing because I love you. You don't need to
mhm,
compensate. But she, as part of her own self-image, she needed to be in control,
mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Anyways, this is just a conversation that came popped
But
up
you
in my
see,
mind.
yeah, it is okay
Yes,
as long
yeah,
as we deal with that.
yes,
So, I mean, there is one part that when we accept the limitations,
yeah,
right, which
yeah,
is not easy, we accept the limitations, and then there is this part that, emotionally speaking, you
hmm,
still prefer, like you said, to be in control, and then the
yeah,
way that I will think about compensating, if and of
mm,
course, of course, for to do that, she had the means to do that, right?
yeah, yeah,
And so, I mean, as long as she deals with that and say, you know what, I understand that this, we are here talking about a long-term
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
this is one thing that we see about the situation of illnesses, whether we are talking about physical or mental impairment, and mental even more, in the case of Alzheimer or dementia,
yes,
is when,
yeah,
the loneliness. Because
yes,
at the beginning, there are always friends, family members that comes and showered you with their love, with their cards, their flowers, chocolates, etc. But then, for them is an event, and
yeah,
for you is a reality from now on.
Yes.
So I think she was very wise in this sense, because she would understand that, listen, this is a long-term deal. It's not that we will come here just once or twice and, in 2 years, or, but I will need your
Yes.
presence more often. And I think it's only fair if I can do something for you in return. And we see that also as a transaction. And this is one thing, there is so much loneliness sometimes in you being um, going through that impairments of any kind, whether you, like I said, you were born or you started developing in your years or later on in life. And I think as long as you are okay with it and you understand that this is now your condition, your situation, and you are no less of a person because of that,
Yeah.
it's okay. And I think we are actually looking for ways of people dealing with that
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
accepting and making it a reality in
Yeah.
their lives, and looking for ways that you can actually live with that, and perform, and people can be there. So it is smart. I think, she did the hard work, which was, I'm completely okay with that, but I know
Yes.
that this should not be a long-term burden for anyone else. And
Yeah.
so I understand that, you doing that in a long term, uh, your work and dedication values something, and I can give you something.
Yeah, yeah, and it's done. It's done. So, but this is what she did, and I grew up with that. But overall, when you already started talking and interrupted you on that, so forgive me and let me go back to that, right? Because this is a subject that Joanna de Angelis speaks quite a lot, right? This identity crisis, if you will, um, being versus doing, and she even goes later, right? Being versus doing versus having versus appearing. But we're going to just talk about from a physical health perspective
Mhm.
how difficult it is to be to be aware of our sense of self versus much easier. Well, let me do. So, Jussara, uh, who are you? And immediately our brain goes, oh, I'm this, 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 this. Those are all the things that you do because it's even easier to discuss that, right? To be identified in all the documentations and bios and curriculum, whatever. But the question is, what happens to that sense of identity when you no longer can do for whatever reason?
Yeah, it's like, we hide behind the mask so much
Yeah.
that we ourselves begin to believe that we are just a mask, and the mask breaks.
Yeah.
Right, for one reason or another, there will be a time that you have to see yourself for what you truly are, to behave in society in a different way, like and to perform things differently, and
Yeah.
and uh, it's very hard, that I recently went through some back surgeries, a lot of pain, and I'll have to go undergo to the third surgery now, and because of the back pain,
Mhm.
an accident that I had earlier in life. Now I'll have to do a hip replacement, and I was talking to a friend and she said, well, this is a real loss, right? I mean, I'm going to lose part of one bone that is going to be replaced by a metal. But at the
Yeah.
same time, she said, the pain that you will no longer feel is also a loss.
Aha. Yeah.
So I thought that was so incredible because, that's one thing that we do not think. I mean, I was not thinking about that. Oh
Uh-huh.
my God, I'm going to go through a surgery. Okay, it's painful, it's difficult. The reason why I went to the surgery was because of pain in the first place.
Mm.
And you start, I mean, it's not easy, it's not good, but you even start accommodating and getting used to live with the pain. And all of a sudden, there is no pain anymore. So, there may be a loss
Yeah. Yeah.
for the better,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes when in the ways that we analyze this topic here about loss of health and body, body mind, and is mostly in this sense. You may be losing something, but there will be additions
Yeah.
as well, in the sense maybe I was always too much sure of myself, and then even put it
Yeah.
myself in the world as this, self-sufficient, has to be admired person or something. I'm the one that is always providing everything, and all of a sudden you have to become humble,
Yeah.
to depend, to be invited to see that, like you say, I'm not what my physical machine is capable of doing. And
Mm-hmm.
even when we think in terms of, mental laws in the sense of a dementia, Alzheimer, uh, as immortal spirits that we are, and things that we learn in Spiritism and the Joanna de Ângelis works as well, my body may not be processing the thoughts and the emotions anymore because now it's impaired for a condition, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that myself as a mortal spirit's not absorbing that. You see that everyone, if you have someone that is in a coma in a hospital, you go there, you talk to them, you read to them, doctors, nurses, everyone advise you to do that. They
Yeah.
don't know how to explain that, but they say somehow we see that this is a good thing. It's more like intuitive. It is going to be wonderful when people can be sure that, what is not just intuitive. The person is really, from a different point, is feeling your emotions, is seeing your attention, is enjoying, is absorbing all the good that you're doing there. And but again, Marcia, isn't here.
Mm.
This is one thing that we have been, you know, really focusing on putting all these ideas here. It's not that we are um, saying, okay, don't worry about this pain or this certain kind of laws, or no. I mean, we know it's hard. It is painful. It means suffering. But we are not defined by that, and it doesn't mean that we cannot overcome and go past that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and even in my case, sometimes, because of this pain and so many other things, I've been not being able to to be close to friends, or and sometimes I question myself, this person doesn't see me 2 3 years. How come this person still loves me, still likes me? I think it's strange, but it is typical of a person that is still working these issues that I'm talking about here today.
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
to work these issues. People like me not because or how agile
Oh,
I
what you do. Yeah. For what you do and how you do it. It's
am.
not even the what, it's also the how you do it, or
It's
how fast you do it. Yeah.
and also, like, a friend came to visit me yesterday, and we were talking about that, like, uh, like I myself was mostly at the other side of the table. Now I'm in the situation where, I'm the one requiring attention. And,
Yeah.
and I feel amazed by see wow, this whole universe that is giving me attention, and how come I deserve that, or how come I
Yeah, very
have that,
interesting. Yeah,
or
very,
and
very, very interesting. How for the person who's the caretaker to be taken care,
yeah.
right? It's that shift in paradigm. Absolutely.
And I mean, it's been a journey, but so when I talk to you guys about this subject, it's
Yeah,
talking from the point where of someone that is going through that,
absolutely.
which I think
Yeah,
is very important, because sometimes people, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they never went to that, look, they are so early in life, or this or that. But no, unfortunately, or maybe, or fortunately, because this is where we want to focus here.
yeah,
Yes, I'm losing, a lot of things. But
yeah,
at the same time, I've been exposed to things, or to these relationships, or to some inner discoveries that
yeah.
otherwise, if it was not for me to slow down my participation in the world, sometimes I
Y-
wouldn't be there, and I wouldn't be able to be uh, learning new things and thinking it's okay, and at the same time seeing, well, I mean, if there is that much care and attention and love, it's
Yeah,
because I've been sowing that. Not that
yeah,
I was thinking one day I will have to reap, okay? I'm just
yeah.
with my book here of all the big people that I did something good, and now it's your turn. But it's so nice. It's so surprising at the same time.
It's freeing, isn't it?
It
Right?
is like a sort of a liberation, and at the
Yeah,
same time, me not expecting that much from me. There was a time that I had to be on a wheelchair, and they said, okay, that's wonderful. Like when we began here, well, there are wheelchairs. I can use the wheelchair. It's okay.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, and people will not value me less because of whether I'm walking or not, or you know,
yeah.
we do so much damage to ourselves.
We do.
We
Terrible.
miss
Yeah,
we miss some very important lessons and opportunities to grow.
yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking of a book that it's not from Jung or about Jung, but there's a reference to him, and it's a beautiful book, by the way. I believe the title is Deep Work, and the notion of this book, it's the idea that you need time to do good work, right?
Mhm.
Which is the deep work is this immersion into whatever that you're doing. But, and this is Jung, right?
Mhm.
um, to the point, if you think about his life, right, his later years, when he did the best of his work, he had to let go with a lot that he was already doing. So it's understanding, and maybe perhaps, and I'm being silly here, but maybe perhaps it's having to go through, in your case, Josara, what you're going through, to be able to reorganize yourself, um, your compass, right? Your north is was skewed because there's so much to do, and now it is okay. I can no longer travel so much. I can no longer do so much. I'm in recovery, but in this period of recovery, for all of us who are going through this, maybe it's this evaluation, validation of who we are, which most of us don't know what that is, right? It's very ambivalent for us to say, but Jusada, now that you had time to yourself in pain, tell us about this discovery. And like, it's an inner journey. It's for you to see, not to be talked about. I don't know. I'm just
You
kidding
see,
here. Yeah.
Marcia, I mean, I'm not even. intending here to be talking from a position of an expert, because I've been
Yeah,
recently, having these issues. And believe me, I had so many already in the past. But even if that was not the case, I'm not here saying, oh, I'm going through that, and you have to be better, you have to learn
yeah,
this or that. This is not the situation here. It's just sharing an experience
absolutely.
and sharing what I've been gathering. And this is me, is how I'm,
Hmm.
um, taking the benefit, since I'm going through that anyway. Let's see what lessons this can teach me, and
Absolutely.
how can I go through that without making myself miserable, and
Yeah.
the life of everyone around me miserable as well. Because sometimes when you go through those processes,
Hmm.
we are so hard on ourselves and so hard on others. It's like, I want to push people away, because I don't want them to take care of me, and me being dependent on them, and with this idea that somehow I owe them something. And
Yeah.
so we even can push people away, and we make it so hard for people who want to take care of us, and are close to us, and they will be doing that naturally, and
Yeah.
make it harder. It's not, not accepting, not understanding. But at
Hmm.
the same time, we're not saying here, hide what you're feeling, hide your emotions, hide your pain, but share from a point where you're not necessarily just complaining or rebelling or why me. Okay, you want that to be happening to all of the other people,
Yeah.
delegating, right? And fortunately, life doesn't happen this way, right?
Hmm.
It's, move away the bitter chalice. But sometimes it's only through that we will experience certain growth. And,
Yeah.
and, and this is the case here. It is okay. This is what we have to convince ourselves. And I'm in the process of doing that. I'm not telling you
Hmm.
that I'm there already. But yeah, I'm a person that, even if I'm having some problems now with this thing, or impairment, or I mean, I'm a person that deserves to be loved, that deserves the
Yes.
attention and tenderness of others. I'm a person that deserve to be taken care of. If people are
Hmm.
willing to come and to help me, and to be part of this journey as well, to help me in this process of growing, of acceptance, of understanding my real role in the way. I think that sometimes, if we could remove the pain, okay, because the pain factor is not that nice. But I mean, remove the pain and just be on the experience, which is,
I hear you. I hear you. So
not. I mean,
yeah, not happens usually, right? It doesn't happen, but I hear and with compassion for this difficult and not fast experience to go through so much pain, right?
mhm.
But I wonder if we could do a pivot because while we talk about physical pain, we discussed back pain, we discussed a knee injury, a broken arm, whatever, right? It is very physical. You can see it, and it's easier to relate to the person who's undergoing whatever. But when we talk about cognitive loss, we we usually don't. And let's talk perhaps about the two sides. We seen our loved ones going through the decline, or seeing ourselves go through the decline. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, It's very hard, and I think that sometimes this is the reason why we have this thing that it's called the, the moment where you have a monastery of the sick room, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes for people that are around you,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to see you in that situation because the immediate are going to relate, it could have been me, or this is going to be me very soon, and
Yeah.
I prefer not to deal with this kind of reality, right? But this is part of what being a family means,
Yeah.
being there for better for worse, to support each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult in both sides, in both positions, I think, from the
Mm-hmm.
one that is going through the pain itself, then and also from the point of view of the caretaker, because
Yeah.
they are having the same mourning as you have,
Yeah.
in the sense of not only seeing you affected. In this case we are talking about physical and movements, etc., but because they know that you are going through emotional stuff as
Mm-hmm.
well, having
Mm-hmm.
to learn to deal with all of this, having to deal with the pain, having to deal with the loss, having to deal with the dependence, uh, and and they go through that as well. It would be very unfair on our part to think, I'm the one that is suffering, you just there, as a bystander. This is not the case. Most of the time, people that are looking after us, they are not a bystanders, and many of them would say, I would rather have, like, in the case of mothers and children, I would rather have this myself than see my
Yeah.
children, my sons and daughters going
Yes.
through this situation. So
Mm.
it is very hard, but it's also very hard when we are talking about the mental decay. uh,
Yes.
I mean, all of a sudden the person that it was always there, it seems that they are evaporating
Yes.
before your eyes. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that is so hard, right, Marcia, for us to see
Yes.
the person vanishing. And sometimes there is not even physical illnesses,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
impairments related to that. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically just brain, right? And and so I think this is what we are talking about here. There are so many uh, things we have to consider, and one of them is really to seek help. To
Mm-hmm.
first of all, to understand it's absolutely normal for you as being the person that is going through uh,
Mm-hmm.
the pain, the surgeries, the loss, etc., to feel this as well for all your loved ones that are
Yeah.
sharing moments with you. And sometimes we do need therapy, because sometimes we don't want to burden our loved ones so much. And so you can look for therapy. You can look at the glass
Mm-hmm.
half full,
Mm-hmm.
because it's half full.
Yeah. It
Not
is.
it is
It
not
is. Yeah.
as being half empty, which will make me have a
Yeah.
completely different reaction,
Yeah.
and really then be a burden to my family and those
Yeah.
taking care of me. But if I look as a half full, listen, okay, it's not the end of the world. I can still, like the case that you were talking about, your mom. She was I mean, she was okay with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
She dealt with that. She didn't lose her will to live, because
No.
sometimes we
Yeah.
have to deal with that as well. Losing the will to live, the
Yeah.
family members questioning whether it's valid or not,
Mm-hmm.
and then there is this thing that you think, oh my God, now I'm at a point that I'm just a burden for my family members, for my loved ones, and the
Yeah.
loved ones thinking, oh my God, and this loving person is going through so much. Maybe, they are going to contemplate a way of ending life, euthanasia,
Yeah.
for instance.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is never,
Yeah.
never. never the response. I have, because you know what you do, even in spiritist centers, I talk to so many people that had a difficult relationship with parents, and
Yeah.
when they grew older, and they had to deal with their parents, and they had to be close because they started having this dependency for
Yeah.
whatever reason. And it was a healing process for both of them. And I heard that from so many different people that went through that. You know, those years where I had to take care of my mother or my father, we always have a very difficult relationship, but somehow we at least we managed to reach a middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my heart is healed. I felt that I did my, you know, my duty as a child, a son or a daughter, and uh, and we had some conversations,
Mhm.
and we talked about things that I never knew. Like, for instance,
Yeah.
my father, my mother, they died very young, 63 and 70. And the
Mhm.
other day I was thinking about, you know, I don't even know whether I mentioned that already, but I was thinking about my father and
Mm.
thinking, oh my God, I don't remember him sharing memories when he was in early school. And now I wanted to know so much. And maybe he talked about, but when he talked about it was not important to me. And so
Yeah.
when you have the chance to see your loved ones grow old, and then they come and talk to you about themselves, their childhood, so you start adding, well, maybe this is
Yeah.
the reason why that person was so difficult in a certain situation, and it resonated in our relationship. But now I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I really appreciate that, right? This getting to the memories that we may not have had time or interest in our youth. I think one of the things, if I may, Jussara, that I thought when you're talking about the sacred monastery of the sick room, right? Um, the question is how, so socially speaking, we start to create this desert where, and you mentioned already, right, where at first people will show up, but at some point, from a cognition perspective, that person is no longer able to maintain a conversation. So they stop talking, they stop calling, they stop coming over, and then the person, the patient, starts to also not exchanging anymore. So it's one that leads to the other, that leads to the other, and it's just very very interesting. But love to hear from you because we are at time, Josada. Maybe if you can give your final thoughts on the fact that we as immortal spirits, right? Even if everything goes wrong with this body, it does not mean that the spirit will be damaged, right? There is a permanence of the spirit, the individual attributes of the spirit, even though the body may be shutting down. What are your thoughts?
yeah, and this is already like, you know, a training
Yeah,
for detachment, which is, you know, going to be the topic of a future podcast. But it's a training already, you know, for you to, like, yeah, we said before, you're so much more than what you see in the mirror, in your titles, in your position, in
yeah,
your physical health, or you know, all those things. And one thing that we have to learn as well, you know, whatever position you are, of a caretaker or the one that is going through the experience, is not to be frustrated, because like you said, especially when we are talking about the mental impairments due to
yeah,
Alzheimer's or dementia. I mean, we want to expect from people that are going through that the same behavior that they had when they were at their full capacity. It's like, wanting a 3 months old to talk. How come you don't talk? You have a tongue, you have a throat, you're listening
That's
to me.
right. Yeah.
You could birth. So I want something from them that they physically are still, in the case of the baby, not capable of doing in the case of the grown up, um, no longer able to do. So let's not expect anything, just be there, just to be a companion. And also it's very much like, this emptiness, or this, the people going away. Sometimes it's very much because of ourselves. When people come, we just explain, look at my situation, look, how how a victim I am. And instead of saying, tell me about the world, or what is happening, what restaurants are you going through now, or have you seen an interesting movie, or being more open to that, being but this is just can only be the result of someone that is okay with their experiences. And I think in this sense, this is the message we want to give everyone. It's okay. We go through that. Let's be more mindful of our emotions, understand that there is a grief process, laws in so many different aspects. But I cannot only look at the side of the laws. I have to look at the side of, the experience itself. And I have to take the best out of it. And you could have a different attitude, say, oh my God, I'm already in that age that I have all this back and this and that problem. Oh, I have to rush, and I really have to enjoy life to its full, and to see the beauty of things, and to make the best that we can.
Absolutely.
We are humans, but and it's only normal, but at the same time, it depends so much on us. And if you need help, if you're not being able to do that alone, go look for help, and with the doctors, therapy, with a church, with friends. Ask for help. Don't shelter yourself and just think, okay, now I don't have any value. Now you have so much value. You have to teach everyone that life is still good. Even if I'm going through stuff, life is still good, and each and every day brings us so much good surprises.
Absolutely. I would just say that health in whatever form that is coming to you in terms of health loss, it's not just that personal journey of tragedy or giving up. It's truly a classroom, right, Jussara? It is a classroom for the spirit. So I think what I heard from you today, Jussara, is in that classroom, through health issues, we are able to learn to receive love as much as we give love, as well as we learn to perhaps honor the body as a sacred instrument, and to finally to discover that the presence, the essence of we are, is infinitely more powerful than how fast and when we do things, how productive we are. So let us
I just
welcome
like
this. Go
to say,
ahead. Yeah.
I forgot about this, this idea,
Yeah.
the violin, and
Yes.
just to end that, when you are playing violin, with the years, the chords are going to get older, and
Yeah.
are going to feel to be damaged. And the thing is, you still are in control. you will still know how to play those beautiful melodies, but the
Yeah.
instrument is not responding in the same manner. It's not you, it's just the instrument. And but it doesn't mean that even with a defective instrument, so to say, you cannot still play beautiful melodies going through a different tone, a different music note, and you
Yes.
still can take out or can play beautiful melodies. So I think we have to think about our physical body as that, an instrument that allows us to play a melody in life, but the spirit is the one that actually is playing, is capable of doing that, and this is immortal.
I love it. I really like it. What a gift to close our discussion today with this metaphor. But for those of you who joined us for the first time, please note that our program, the Psychology in Spirituality, weekly talks are all based on the works by Joanna de Angelis. And we really appreciate you being here. We're following us. And I would also like to thank you, Jussara. Thank all of you who are here, but also thank Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AME Brazil. Thank you, everyone. And until next week. Bye bye.
Bye.